Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we find ourselves in Branson, Missouri. And as you can see, I'm joined by a celebrity here. This is Ecto-1 from the movie Ghostbusters. We're actually going to see a lot of those today because we are at the Celebrity Car Museum. Let's get in there and rev those engines.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
The Celebrity Car Museum is also called the Velvet Collection, as it is founded and ran by the Velvet family. They opened their collection in 2012 and have never looked back. There are so many cars here, some of them even have to stay outside, such as the Bluesmobile. And here was one of the buses from the classic tornado movie, Twister. Having the cars right there in the parking lot is a fantastic way to catch people's attention and bring them in. You're also never sure what you're going to see next. This is a security car from the Umbrella Corporation in the Resident Evil movies. And then, getting about as far away from zombie movies as you can get, we have Tow Mater and Lightning McQueen, straight from Radiator Springs and the amazing series Cars. Now, of course, these original movies were animated, so these two weren't in the actual movie, but these were used for plenty of promotional opportunities to promote the series. But it was a bit rainy outside, so after checking out the cars, we decided to head on in.
Here inside the museum, they have well over 100 cars, about 95% of which were actually used in the TV shows and movies.
Things start off with a bang, here with Kit from Knight Rider. The only thing that could make this awesome car even cooler is if he talked to you himself. This next car actually wasn't a real car, but rather a prop that was used in the filming of Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Something I really like about this museum is that it's not just cars. They have other props from movies and TV shows, such as these two arcade cabinets here that were used in the movie Pixels.
Representing Donkey Kong and Galaga, these games were ready to go. A little more obscure, this car was used in the old movie Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. And then Tobias Funke's car from Arrested Development. Nothing too crazy to look at, but it did have his signature license plate in which he wanted to write a new start, but it came out reading a little differently. This next vehicle is very whimsical looking. It had a minion driving it for some reason, and then on the side, good old Cat in the Hat. I don't believe this was actually in any feature films, but nice to look at. Who would have thought that this ended up here? But let's move on.
Another prop that's not quite a vehicle on its own, this trailer was used in the movie Twister to carry around the equipment they needed to help measure the tornado.
You knew they had to have at least one version of Herbie the Love Bug, so here he is. And next to that was the classic Wayne's World car, where they rocked out to Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the best openings of any movie in recent times. Then a sort of parody car, we had the Mystery Machine from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, And Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith actually signed this car when they came to visit the museum themselves. This took place in a very funny scene in the movie, so it's cool that it's still around for people to check out today. Speaking of cartoons,
Straight out of Bedrock, we have the car of the one and only Flintstones family.
I think this probably wins the award for the most fuel-efficient car that was on display. As we all know, this ran through the power of your feet. Many years ahead of Bedrock, we had these vehicles from Halo. Again, not from an actual show, but used more as promotional events and different advertising things across the country. But they were still amazing to see in person, and they looked like they came right out of the video games. However, something that was in a movie, the Jurassic Park Jeep. Very iconic. You'd have to go quite a long way to find somebody who didn't recognize this awesome paint job.
This hallway here is actually lined generously with costumes from different movies and TV shows.
Another great example of how there was so much more to see here than just simply cars. Really, anyone who is a fan of Hollywood, movies, TV shows, owes it to themselves to come and see this amazing collection, because you're bound to find something that you relate to and love. They even had this that was driven by Elvis. Who's not a fan of the King? It was honestly a super unique looking vehicle. I don't think I've ever seen one quite like this before.
And of course, you can't talk movie cars without talking the Fast and the Furious, and they have quite a collection of them here.
Honestly, I can't believe that there are as many movies in this series as there are. I think they're getting close to 10. It's insane that they just keep finding new storylines with newer, faster cars. Eventually, it's probably just going to be about a bunch of cars up in space zooming around or something crazy like that. But I'm sure we'll all be there for that adrenaline-filled ride. Speaking of adrenaline, the movie Titanic was definitely a nerve-wracking experience, and here's one of the life jackets. The Terminator series has always been filled with cool-looking machines, and that didn't stop at the cars. This one was driven by Arnold Schwarzenegger himself in Terminator 3. No, you're not dreaming. This is one of the actual cabs driven in the classic movie Inception. This next car was certainly not one that you would see driving around on the streets. It was a custom-made mini car made special for Fantasy Island. Very, very funny, but it does work. Up next, a couple of cars you may recognize from Breaking Bad. The first one here was actually in the Netflix movie, and then this one was in the actual series. So any fans of the classic show would probably enjoy seeing this here. Another major action star was this car from XXX that even had fake little missiles coming out of the headlights there. That would be pretty dangerous, but maybe kind of useful in a really busy traffic one day. Though I don't think you could get away with that. Even the inside was loaded up with gadgets and weapons and gizmos, almost like a James Bond car. Another car with a lot of gizmos? The original Batmobile from the 1960s. In great, pristine condition here. It was awesome getting to see this superhero relic. All the buttons and everything were just dying to be pushed. And then right next to that, you could also check out the Batcycle. This was from the TV series as well, and even had the sidecar there for when Robin needed to come along and help Batman fight those bad guys. Another heroic duo who fought bad guys, Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural. Here was one of the cars, but of course, the car that everybody wants to see, the one that was a character of its very own in the show, Baby, the 1967 Chevy Impala. It was absolutely gorgeous and everything that you would want it to be. The back of it in the trunk even had a demon trap and was filled with weapons so that you were ready to go. Cars also make great disguises, as the Transformers taught us, so we had a great section devoted to these robots in disguise. Bumblebee has always been one of my favorites, so I was very happy to see him represented here. But I think it also would have been neat if they managed to get their hands on one of the 18-wheelers that played Optimus Prime. That would be cool. A little more obscure, they had a couple vehicles here from Death Race, where inmates on death row competed in a deadly race that was televised, the winner of which would win their freedom and get out of prison. It's definitely one of those kind of crazy action movies with not much of a plot, but the cars were really cool to check out. But don't worry, if any of the prisoners got out of hand, RoboCop was nearby to clean things up. A true celebrity, this was Jackie Kennedy's 1960 Cadillac. Very shiny, very pretty. This is a gorgeous car, definitely worthy of being in a museum. Diving back into movies, we had a motorcycle on display from one of the original Mad Max movies. You could tell it was ready to head out into the wastelands of the apocalypse. And then next to that, for some reason, another motorcycle that wasn't in any movies, but happened to have been owned at one point by Nicolas Cage. So there you go. But something I really liked seeing.
Even our old friend Toys R Us had to get in on the fun. This is the Toys R Us Jeffrey Mobile and was used for over 40 years to promote the toy company. This was a really great way to see him in parades, at stores, and of course, Jeffrey himself hanging out at the back.
Personally, I very much miss Toys R Us, and I really hope they have a big comeback to get those stores back out all over the country. Ratfink was another kind of mascot type character that was associated with vehicles. He was invented to be kind of an anti-hero Mickey Mouse, so take of that what you will. And one of the highlights of the museum, the Shaggin' Wagon from Dumb and Dumber. Nice and furry, it made you just want to pet it and then jump in and go for a ride. It was really cool seeing it here. Something was a little strange in this section. It almost felt like we'd gone right into the Upside Down to see these really cool cars from Netflix's acclaimed series, Stranger Things. Speaking of strange, things are about to get very unusual.
And some vehicles do incredible, amazing things, such as travel through time. We have H.G. Wells' Time Machine, and one of my personal favorites, the TARDIS from Doctor Who. And you can't talk time travel without mentioning this beloved, incredible car, the DeLorean.
Possibly taking the #1 spot as the most iconic and well-loved movie cars, this one had to be here. There's no way you could skip it. Rounding out the museum, there was a car from Thelma and Louise in which they go and have their grand adventure all throughout the country. And then another animated classic come to life, the Pizza Planet delivery truck, straight out of Toy Story. You had the great characters on top of it, and then Buzz inside, leading the way as Woody sits next to him, protecting that pizza. And then an old friend that wants to say bye before you head out, another classic car from that wonderful series, Jurassic Park.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the only mystery around here is how could you not fall in love with this amazing museum? So me and the gang are off to find a new adventure. My name is David. This has been Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for tagging along. We'll see you in the next one.